Okay, what else do we have?
Chairman's report.
Okay, and the chairman's report, I just wanted to review quickly again. I know that on, I think it was May 3rd or May 4th, it was May 3rd, I discussed briefly the meeting that I had with the school board and Dr. Abinovich. I just wanted to go into a little more detail on that because they announced these Transportation Review Committee at their meeting last week, and we haven't really had an in-depth discussion on the Transportation Review Committee. The meeting was basically just to run down the meeting, and then we'll get to that Transportation Review Committee piece again. Try to keep the dialogue open and agreed to meet with them once per month with the approval of the board to have a small group discussion, myself, the town administrator, the superintendent of schools, and the chairman of the board of the school committee, to just talk in a small group meeting and bring back, as sort of a liaison, our concerns with school. Okay. With the school committee and whatever issues they would like to bring before us. It would really be, to keep the lines of communication open and to see if we could work on public relations and, moving things forward together. As far as the two things that they were hoping that we might join them in terms of being more proactive. One was a crisis planning committee. That was sort of a reactive request based on the number of bomb scares that we had at the high school and the middle school and the Minot school and whatever other school. I think it was every school, because they really felt that they didn't have good enough of an emergency response planning, and so many people were calling the Board of Selectmen with concerns that they wanted to set up a crisis planning committee where some kids were getting put on buses, some kids were being, just herded over to a corner. I mean, they really, as soon as the emergency responders came on the scene, then their plan took over, but they were looking for input from us, and I believe they wanted to have a parent or two on the committee. Just reviewing my notes, and I think I left that off, but and Chief Stanley, and then they would talk to the fire chief and see if they could get in place some consistent crisis planning responses as soon as the bell went off. Bell goes off, you got a bomb scare, what do we do? Boom, 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 boom. And they were looking for us to be part of that. Is there anybody on the...
Well, if they need someone to, and I say this most respectfully, but if they need to have someone tell them what to do in the event of emergency, I'll be more than happy to help in that. Because I did have one of those children that was left off on the bus with no key, with no notice to me, standing out on the street in front of my house for 40 minutes because they put my child was supposed to be staying after school. They didn't notify any of the parents and left, and sent the kid home on a bus. So it is kind of amazing that in a post 9/11 world that there are no contingency plans for this. I'll be more than happy to go on and
they were
feedback.
very, I will say that they were very upfront and open and wanting to review it and say, and that they hadn't reviewed their plan in quite some time, and the chairman of the school committee was very concerned with it and wanted to get something moving. So I think they were equally unhappy with the fact that they didn't have their emergency response planning situation.
And it changed from bomb scare to bomb scare. That was the other issue that I'm sure that they
exactly. There was no consistency. So they recognize that and would like to move forward on that. They also were very wanted to be proactive on the transportation review committee. They were very clear in the direction that they are not wedded at this point to maintaining and owning a fleet of buses, that they were willing to look at potentially leasing out the bus services, and they proposed a Transportation Review Committee consisting of Capital Planning Chair, member of the Board of Selectmen, a member of the school committee, several parents, and the town administrator and superintendent to come together and come up with a workable plan for reviewing the transportation situation. They're looking at this point in time, needing to replace 10 buses at a cost of $1.8 million. It's a lot of money. We really need to look at this, and it's something that needs to be done in a timely fashion, in my opinion. And so, like I said, I know they announced the Transportation Review Committee. We had talked about it very briefly on May 3rd. We hadn't come to any consensus about participating. Not that I don't think that we want to participate, but I just wanted to put it out here for the committee. If there's somebody on the committee who wants to participate as a member of the Transportation Review Committee.
Well, Madam Chairman, and believe me, I really appreciate you wanting, you working to meet with Mr. Andrews and with the superintendent and with the chairman of the school committee. But I do wonder how, from the time you met with them, where the school committee did not have a meeting, and yet at their last Wednesday's meeting, they announced that they've already hired a consultant, that the consultant's already reviewing this. The consultant already assured people that at no time were children ever at risk, which I don't know how the consultant can start off by saying that. And they've already appointed the chairman of this committee that you're telling us about as one of the members of the school committee, and another member is going to be on it who happens to drive a bus. So while I appreciate this, and again, if they want me to be on, if they want someone to be on it, I will be more than happy to be on it. But I just don't think that they're truly looking at trying to solve these problems. They've already hired a person they wanted. They've already appointed the chairman of the committee, and they've already done all that. And I just think that if they want to work with us, I think that they should work with us. And I think that, once again, we've invited them in. I asked for a meeting on May 7th or whatever. It never came up because something came up or they couldn't make it. I'm kind of, quite frankly, sick of all of their meetings being either, that they call selected media so that they can throw things out there against us, or they we ask them to meet, and they can never do it. And yet, then they turn around and they say, well, we'll have a private meeting with just the chairman of this and the chairman of that.
It wasn't a private meeting, Brenda. First of all, it wasn't a private meeting. I got an invitation to meet with them. I asked the board if I could attend the meeting. The board agreed that I could attend the meeting, so I have to take issue with that choice of words. The second thing I want to say is that...
Wait, may I ask you, excuse me, one moment. I said I give you a lot of credit for attempting to do that. I wasn't blaming you. Yes, we gave you permission. But was that meeting from now on, so can we all go to that meeting if you're going to do that monthly with them? Because I'd like to attend every one of those meetings.
I'm putting it out there for the board to determine whether or not they feel that it's appropriate for me to attend the meeting, They would like to meet in a small group session. I think that small groups can sometimes work better. That's my feeling on it. So whether or not the board feels that I should attend that, we'll take it up as a matter of business, number one. Number two, while I appreciate the fact that, I don't necessarily appreciate the fact that a transportation consultant was apparently hired along the way, and that was done without, any knowledge of this board. They have that right to do that within their own framework. And this meeting was held on April 29th, okay? So I'm taking responsibility for the fact that I did not get back to you with more specifics. It was town meeting. We went over it very briefly at one of our meetings prior to town meeting on May 3rd, which was immediately following April 29th. We didn't come to any decisions. I'll take responsibility for that. I don't know when they hired their consultant, and I, the fact that they had a meeting last Wednesday, which was, what's the date? Several weeks after April 29th. Again, I feel like that's somewhat my responsibility, because we didn't make a decision